I'm having real trouble getting my phone going this morning with YouTube. It's just so sorry I'm late. Not much of an introduction this morning. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Great to have you along. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, and we'll start rolling here in moments. My phone just was not. I don't know if it's my phone. I don't know if it's YouTube. Here we go. Doctor of Discernment is on the air. I didn't think we were going to get the video up this morning. I was this close to just saying, forget it. But I know how much you enjoy what we're doing. I tell myself that. Here we go. Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It's great to have you along. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. And today is Flag Day. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. That'll be a big story this morning. Today is Flag Day. And I think especially with everything going on in the country and the world and what we see going on, I think for so many of us, the American flag is just really, really important to us. And this country and what this country stands for. And then you've got the flag, which is the representation of all of those, our hopes, our dreams, freedom, our, aspirations. So we'll talk about that in more detail coming up this morning. The big stories. So the president yesterday is saying, no, he's not going to be commuting the sentence of his son in order to help him avoid jail. The president said again yesterday he wouldn't do it. So these were his first on-camera remarks since the verdict against Hunter Biden. And the president characterized it as a fair trial. And he, of course, talking about his son, saying he's extremely proud of his son, Hunter. He said, he's overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I'm satisfied, the president said. I'm not going to do anything. I said I would abide by the jury's decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him, the president said. So then reporters then asked, what about a commutation for Hunter? And he said no. So the president making it very clear that he will be hands off in regard to this. You and I talked about this a little bit the other day. So there's no sentence for Hunter Biden as of yet. Hunter Biden has not been sentenced yet. But the president's saying, no, no commutation, no pardon coming from him. At least that's what he's saying now. So we'll see what happens with that moving forward. That's a very big story this morning. Also, we had Donald Trump meeting with the Republicans yesterday. And he was warmly welcomed then by Republican lawmakers. And he apparently, Newsmax says, he was in a defiant mood, according to reports citing people in the room. So he called out Republicans who had voted to impeach him. So he named those, apparently, according to people who were there. And he also called the Justice Department dirty, no-good bastards, Trump said. Afterward on Truth Social, Trump said, great meeting with Republican representatives, lots discussed. All positive, great poll numbers. See, and this is where people who off the record behind this said, well, Trump was calling out the Republicans who, we'll see. I don't put a lot of stock in what unnamed people are behind, are saying in regard to that. So Trump said it was a very good meeting that he had with the Republicans yesterday. And House Speaker Mike Johnson talked about he has been talking He was among the Republicans who was at Donald Trump's trial in Manhattan. There were a number of people who went to Trump's trial in order to show their support, Johnson among them. And following the verdict in Manhattan, Johnson said he raised $53 million in the first 24 hours after that verdict. And I think that shows that people understand what's happening here, he said. And he said of all of these cases against Trump, we had state charges, he had federal charges, and Johnson said, people see that. That's a threat to our system of justice, and they want to push back. I think we want to push back a lot, don't we? I want to really push back hard as we watch these things unfolding. So, and he said, in many ways, President Trump has become a symbol of that pushing back against corruption, the deep state, the weaponization of the judicial system, and that's a very encouraging development. So Republicans concentrating on a unity message, and Representative Tim Burchett joined Newsmax. He was on Newsmax Prime News and talking about this Trump's return then to Capitol Hill yesterday. And Representative Burchett was pretty enthusiastic. And he said of Trump, he said, the president was right on. He said, Joe Biden sees people he's known his whole life, and he doesn't know who they are. Trump was picking people out in the crowd, random members, and saying, oh yeah, remember when you were down, whatever, and we did this, and we made phone calls to these, to these people, so on. And Burchett said, I thought he was on fire, and I thought that he handled it very well. Among the things that Trump talked about was he was talking about the Russian warships then that showed up in Cuba this week. And Trump pushed back hard about that. He said, we don't want to see Russian ships right off the coast of Florida, which is where they are right now. That's unthinkable. It's amazing, isn't it, how little news coverage that issue has gotten? That you got Russian ships, again, in Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and Trump saying it's unthinkable that these ships are there. And Trump said, we want to see just success for our country, and we don't have success right now. So again, he pushed back. The Biden administration, have we heard anything from the Biden administration at all about these Russian warships in Cuba? Also, Donald Trump, and this is the story that the legacy media is making a big deal of today. I don't know if, part of me understands this, part of me I don't. I just think there are such more pressing issues that demand our time rather than Donald Trump's VP pick. Who's Donald Trump's VP pick going to be? Who is he going? And I understand he's going to be choosing a VP. I'm just content to wait until we know who it is. I mean, there's just the media is just obsessed about this question. So Trump was asked this. He talked to, and forgive me if I mispronounce her first name. Asa Hosni, I believe, is her name at Fox News. So she talked with Trump at RNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. And he was asked if his vice presidential pick was present at any of the meetings, because he started out by saying he had sort of a pretty good idea of who his vice presidential running mate will be. Sort of a pretty good idea. That sounds like a firm non-committal to me, but So then she followed up, well, was his pick present at any of these meetings today? And Trump said, probably. He said, I don't want to go, but I think it's will probably get announced during the convention. During the convention. There were some good people, and we have some very good people. It's the same stuff we hear from Trump over and over again. So it's really not anything new, but this story was, headlining a lot of media websites this morning, and it's like it's a firm non-committal. I mean, he probably knows who it is, but at least in terms of what he's saying, he doesn't want to commit, and that's fine. And he said a number of times he will announce it at the RNC, right, at the Republican National Convention. He has said that a number of times. So the media just said, like, they got to be the first. They got to be the first. I think you and I, excuse me, life just kind of goes on, One of the things Donald Trump did talk about also yesterday, and this was during a closed-door meeting, he talked about the idea of eliminating the federal income tax and using then tariffs instead, imposing tariffs on imports in order to fund the federal government then that way. Eliminating the income tax. Oh man, that has got to be red meat for a lot of for a lot of people. So apparently that was suggested. And who is it? It was Representative Maliotokis said that Trump does want to look at lowering the income tax, and that could be offset and paid for by some type of tariffs, particularly on adversarial nations. And she said President Trump simply floated the ideas, one of many brought up during the conversation. And he has said many times that as tariffs on foreign countries go up, taxes on American workers can come down. So Trump, that was among the things Trump talked about yesterday. Now, Trump also making an endorsement of Larry Hogan. And this, honestly, I find this hilarious. Larry Hogan does not, he does not want Donald Trump's endorsement. And this is Governor Larry Hogan running for Senate. And a spokesperson said, one of the governor's spokespeople said, Governor Hogan has been clear he is not supporting President Trump, just as he didn't in 2016 and 2020. So trying to make it very clear. So Trump is saying of Hogan that he'd like to see him in the Senate. Trump saying it was very kind of an offhand comment, and the action is just it was an endorsement. So they were told about the endorsement, but it really wasn't much of an endorsement other than Donald Trump saying he'd like to see Larry Hogan in the Senate, and Hogan wants none of it. And he's trying to appeal, of course, then to Democrats, independents, centrists. So he's running away from that endorsement just as fast as he can. And I find it funny. I just laugh. Also, there is some stories that I don't think you're going to hear about, and I think they're big. We've got the president again, who's at the G7 summit in southern Italy, and This is from the New York Post. Biden wanders away at G7 summit before being pulled back by the prime minister of Italy. So the president started to wander off, and you can see the video of this, by the way. New York Post has got it. They're public. New York Post, actually publishing a lot of things that the legacy media in this country tries to kill, like Hunter Biden and all of the news about Hunter Biden and those photos and everything. So the president wandering away during a skydiving demonstration at the G7 summit, when the Italy's prime minister then pulled him back toward the group. And there's a photo of a group of people and the president. See, I'll show you this. I don't know how well you can see this. For those of you, remember, we're doing a YouTube broadcast each day. The president walking away, and he's like 4 feet away from gazing off in the opposite direction. When the Italian PM kind of backs up, she doesn't turn around and grab him. She backs up and then reaches out and guides him back to, where everything's actually happening. We don't know what he was looking at. We don't know what got his attention. So the Italian PM she walked backwards so that she was still facing then fellow leaders that were there. She didn't turn her back on the fellow leaders, as Biden did. He's got his back to everybody else. And she touches his arm, guides him back to the group. So again, do we know what was going on there? Was he having another moment? What was he doing? We don't know. And I wouldn't imagine that Karine Jean-Pierre at the Ministry of Truth is going to be giving us very clear responses to the question of what the hell was going on there. All right. Also, there's a story about the White House Correspondents Association pushing back after the president told a reporter the president was doing a presser on Ukraine. Because the president, I think, talks about Ukraine more than he talks about what's going on in the United States. From my perspective, that's just my perspective. I think he talks about Ukraine more than he talks about what's going on in this country. So he was upset. He wanted to do a news conference on Ukraine. And of course, you've got reporters who are asking him a variety of different questions about things that are going on in this country. And the president was upset. I'm here to talk about a critical situation in Ukraine. You're asking me another subject, the president says. So the president of the White House Correspondents Association, which is Kelly O'Donnell, is a veteran NBC News reporter, issued a statement saying there are no rules about what reporters can ask during these events. There are no rules there. They're completely within their... Ever seen grumpy old men? I think we see it every time Joe Biden holds a news conference. Also, speaking of the president's ghostwriter is admitting he obstructed the investigation into Joe Biden, according to the Robert Hur report. After learning of the special counsel's appointment, Mr. Biden's ghostwriter deleted audio recordings that he had created of his discussions with Joe Biden during the writing of his memoir. However, Robert Hur, who was the special counsel, decided not to charge him with obstruction of justice. And it's pretty crazy. Mark Zwaniker is this guy's name who wrote Biden's memoir. And he was asked by the, I think this is by the FBI. Yeah, was an FBI agent who learned about this deleted audio and said, I just need the truth on this one. That was part of your motivation, at least something you were aware of when you did this, about deleting the recordings and the investigation. And were you thinking about the investigation when you deleted these recordings? And Zwanitzer says, well, I'm not going to say how much of the percentage it was of my motivation. I was aware that there was an investigation. And he said he was very concerned about being hacked by those who would spread the audio all over the internet. Because there was a lot of personal stuff and emotional stuff about Beau Biden, he said. So I'm not going to say how much of the percentage it was of my motivation. Boy, this guy's learned well from the Democrats, huh? You don't answer questions? Just don't answer questions. No wonder he's a Democrat biographer. Just absolutely incredible. Big story in the legacy media today is what's going on with IVF legislation, in vitro fertilization. There's a lot, and frankly, I think that's a distraction from much more important matters. I think it's one of the reasons the legacy media is focusing on that so much. And that's a look at the big stories this morning on the Greg Belfrage Show. Thanks so much for being here. It's 6:27. Sunshine at 55. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Okay, there's the first segment. Coming up, we got news headlines coming up here in just a moment, and then we'll run down this morning's trending stories. Later on the show today, we'll be talking about the American flag and what it means. What it means to my listeners, at least.
Spring brings storms with heavy rains that can wreak havoc.
See what's going on in the newsroom here.
Don't get caught in that situation. Call Hander Plumbing to get your sump pump replaced with one of Hander's experienced service technicians and 24/7 service. Call today and get a Hander on it.
Whether it's on the job, on the field, on an errand, or at home, accidents can happen anywhere.
Okay.
Break, sprain, or any other orthopedic injury, trust the experience.
Okay, we're good to go.
Orthopedic surgeon.
Again, sorry about the late video start this morning.
Either of our convenient Sioux Falls locations in the Avera Specialty Hospital.
Then I start stressing out because I can't get it to work, and I'm watching the seconds are ticking down. It's like... It's like I gotta go at certain times, 6:05 every morning.
My computer career. I heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance?
Iowa Senator Joni Ernst was in that congressional baseball game yesterday.
Level rate for 20 years.
Republicans, by the way, won.
20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for use.
Pretty overwhelmingly, too. I got details on that for you.
You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, call Turnbusters. 1-800-908-7636. Sample rate for preferred non-tobacco rate class. Exam required to qualify.
We'll have an increase in cloud cover as we do go through the day today, watching for showers, thunderstorms late today. High temperature of 83, south winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Showers and thunderstorms will become numerous as we go through the overnight hours. Will fall to 62. Expect rain tomorrow, preparing for heavy rain, high of 78. The Himalayan storm center.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, sunshine and 55. Joe Bowman's in the Kello.com News Center. Senator Mike Rounds co-sponsoring a Congressional Review Act resolution, disapproval over Biden's changes to Title IX. So he'll have details on that coming up in moments on Kello. Okay, I'm going to turn up Fox News here for you so you can hear our local news headlines while I'm
He is expected to talk about artificial
gathering
intelligence with
trending
Pope
news
Francis,
stories.
who is the first pope to participate in G7 talks. On Thursday, the U.S. sealed a new 10-year pledge to build Ukraine's defenses. G7 leaders also announced a new $50 billion loan for Ukraine, underwritten by the U.S. and backed by frozen Russian assets.
Fox's Madeline Rivera, former President Trump, during a meeting with House Republicans yesterday, called this summer's host of the Republican convention, Milwaukee, a horrible city, later telling Fox.
I think it was very clear what I meant. I said we're very concerned with crime. I love Milwaukee. I have great friends in Milwaukee.
Democratic National Committee plans to put up billboards around the city quoting the former president, calling Milwaukee horrible. America's listening to Fox News.
Apparently very thin-skinned people in Milwaukee.
31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. They're trying to stop the Biden administration from trampling on the rights of girls and women. Senator Mike Rounds is co-sponsoring a Congressional Review Act resolution of disapproval. It would stop the Education Department from redefining sex to include gender identity in Title IX. Title IX has been used to provide equal opportunities for women's and girls' sports. Another stark warning from Sioux Falls police: street racing is not only illegal, it's sometimes deadly. That's certainly the case in the fatal motorcycle accident on the city's northeast side early Wednesday morning. Lieutenant Andrew Siebenborn says at least 2 motorcycles were involved in the race, which was being watched by a number of spectators.
Should be noted that there were multiple people in this area watching this activity, parked on the side of the road in other vehicles. Preliminary investigation would reveal, based on statements of witnesses and on another driver who was actually involved in it, that the vehicles were racing northbound on Sycamore.
Police Chief John Toombs says it's time to strengthen laws and increase penalties. An advertising case against Governor Kristi Noem will be heard again today. It was formed by Travelers United for an undisclosed advertisement. The consumer advocacy group filed the lawsuit back in March over a video Noem posted on X where she praised her trip to a Texas dental firm. And Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa competed in the annual congressional baseball game yesterday in D.C. The GOP team defended their title for the 4th year in a row, routing the Democrats 31-11. Ernst was one of the 2 senators on the Republican team. She scored 1 run after Democrats walked her. The congressional baseball game brings policymakers together from across the aisle to enjoy America's favorite pastime and raise funds for more than 45 charities. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
We'll have an increase in cloud cover as we go through the day. There may be a stray shower late in the day. High temperature of 83. South winds 5 to 15 miles per hour. Watching for showers and thunderstorms as we go through the overnight hours. That will continue into tomorrow with periods of heavy rain. Tonight's low fall is 62. Tomorrow's high at 78. From the Kello Storm Center, I'm Scott Lyons.
When you need to know, depend on Kello. News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com.
It happened yesterday on X. The like button has been silenced. I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. X or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, has been an impossible place to get reliable information. The like button has made things worse. What did a like actually mean? If you liked something, did you wholeheartedly embrace it? Or did you only find it amusing? Or was the post clever but icky? There was a universe of nuances in that like. For well-known X or Twitter users, politicians, business leaders, celebrities, or wannabes, liking something was polarizing. So X no longer likes likes. And that dumb explanation for stopping likes, X blames user privacy. If you push the like button and somebody saw it, your privacy was violated. Right. It has to do with X now allowing porn to be posted and shared on the site. A like here and there might show the world a person's site better hidden. Get tech smart with my free newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com. Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T.
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Is included, which means fewer scam calls and more tools to help you optimize
The
your mobile life.
big trending story this morning is what's going on with in vitro fertilization. So Senate Republicans blocked this legislation the Democrats wanted.
Per line at T-Mobile. Visit T-Mobile.
That's an argument I think that will go on.
To make the switch and save.
I wonder whether it's really about, you know, as we're talking about all of these issues, whether it's abortion, drugs, abortion, on some people who argue simply to argue. I mean, there are definitely some people that are very committed to their beliefs. But it seems like the number one export coming out of Washington these days is noise. You know, arguing. You get as tired of it as I do. I mean, seriously, it's just draining. This is why I've said so, and I've talked about this on the air, that, you know, after the show every day, wash my hands of it all, I'm done. That's it. I just existing in that world of constantly angry, and I cannot do it.
We don't just follow best practices, we set them. And Mitchell, we can decide, you're not just choosing a
Let's talk about my friends at Washington Crossing here.
relentless in the pursuit of perfection. A partner who believes in getting better every single day. Together, we're not just building roofs, we're building a legacy of betterment for generations to come. Here's to the future. Making sure we continue to get better together.
Quick word from my friends at Washington Crossing. Washington, if you've not heard about Washington Crossing, they're Sioux Falls' premier independent living community. And the folks at Washington Crossing understand that retirement is about a lot more than just living comfortably. It's about making meaningful connections, building your friendships, still living life. And they do at Washington Crossing. Washington Crossing encourages socializing. They do a number of scheduled outings, things like the sculpture walk downtown, which a lot of folks love, casino trips, community potlucks, and a lot more. Washington Crossing is also, the facilities are beautiful, and they have a number of amenities, things like a fitness center, a game room, a postal center. The chapel is really nice, and computer and email access. The gourmet dining room, I think, is really kind of one of the highlights. You walk into it, lots of natural sunlight, raised ceilings, and windows all the way around, so there's always light in the dining room. Beautiful stone fireplace. Folks love gathering there over coffee in the morning. Washington Crossing is also locally owned, and they're proud of that. They're local, independently owned, and they got a lot of ties to the Sioux Falls community. And they take pride in what they do, providing clean, comfortable retirement living to people that want to be surrounded by friends in a quiet environment. If you want to learn more about Washington Crossing and see it for yourself, give them a call today and schedule a tour. I really recommend it. Go see everything they've got. 605-271-9273 is their phone number. Jot it down. Give them a call later this morning. 605-271-9273. Washington Crossing Retirement Community, premier retirement living at a great value.
These days, the world changes in an instant.
You want to know what's happening in a hurry.
Get the latest breaking news on your smartphone.
With the free LOAM.
It's the way to find out right away. The app
Ugh.
at Callow.com.
I'm a little worn out this morning. Forgive me. It's been a long week. 6:39, sunshine and 55. How are you this morning, my friend? Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. This, I hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belfrage.
Well, these are the stories trending this morning at freespoke.com. Senate Republicans block legislation that would make it a nationwide right for women then to access in vitro fertilization. So Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer forced a vote on the matter yesterday, and trying to drive then a contrast between Democrats and Republicans then on reproductive care. So it was a big issue. All Republicans, except Senators Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine, voted against advancing the measure. And so it only had 48 votes, well short of the 60 it needed. So instead, GOP senators offered their own alternative legislation that would discourage states from enacting bans on the treatment. And then Democrats responded by blocking that. So it's a back and forth over this. Donald Trump on Capitol Hill yesterday, his first time since the January 6, 2021 attacks on Capitol Hill. So Donald Trump back, a packed room of House Republicans saying happy birthday to Trump in a private breakfast meeting. Senators presented him an American flag cake with 45 candles and then 47, referring to another Trump presidency. And Trump said afterward, there's tremendous unity in the Republican Party. So he spent about an hour with House Republicans and an hour with Senate Republicans. And the Associated Press says he delivered freewheeling remarks. That's pretty much business as usual for Donald Trump. I think he's got a long history of being pretty freewheeling in his remarks. It drives a number of Americans crazy. It's one of the things I've appreciated about Donald Trump. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled yesterday that doctors do not have standing to challenge the FDA's removal of safety restrictions on abortion drugs. So the court issued a unanimous ruling in a couple of cases. These are two combined cases. And Justice Kavanaugh delivered the opinion of the court in which he said, the plaintiffs have sincere legal, moral, ideological, and policy objections to elective abortion and to the FDA's relaxed regulation of mifepristone. But he said they don't prescribe or use the drug, and the FDA is not requiring them really to do or refrain from doing anything. Therefore, the plaintiffs lack standing to challenge the FDA's actions. So that's what the U.S. Supreme Court said. It was a unanimous ruling of the U.S. Supreme Court saying that these doctors do not have standing to challenge it, which would mean others do. And some are, again, I think just way too much is being made of what the Supreme Court actually said yesterday. There are a lot of people who just want to inflame others, and they're using the ruling yesterday to do that, whereas I just think it's just another step in the process. Also, you remember Ivan Gerskovich? He's that reporter from the Wall Street Journal. who has been imprisoned in Russia. He is, news is now that he is going to stand trial, Russian authorities said yesterday. So Gershkovich will stand trial. He's been in prison already for about 15 months. And the indictment then of Gershkovich has been finalized. Have we heard anything from the Biden administration about this Wall Street Journal reporter and what he's facing? Also, the Supreme Court made another ruling yesterday, another unanimous ruling. This is a man who wants to trademark the phrase Trump too small. He wants to trademark that phrase. And the government has said no, and the justices upheld the federal government's decision to deny him a trademark. This guy's name is Steve Elster, and he is seeking exclusive use of the phrase on T-shirts and other merchandise. In other words, he wants to make money with the Trump too small phrase. And they're saying, well, you can continue to print your T-shirts and so on. You just cannot trademark Trump too small. And he's frothing at the mouth over this. I find it obviously funny. Well, that he's being frustrated, not what he's up to. That he's being frustrated. People show their true colors, don't they? Also, we had the congressional baseball game yesterday, and it was a big win for Republicans. They won the game 31-11, extended their winning streak to 4 years. And the climate protesters, I mean, I was trying to find the actual score of the game and who actually won. And mostly it's the left-wing climate protesters who were there and for moments during the game that continues to get all the legacy media coverage. Had to dig a little bit to actually find, I mean, the story's still trending. I was interested in who won. I could give a crap less about these protesters who were there. And it was a comment by Representative Dan Crenshaw. He had put up a post on X and then deleted it later. Said, tackling climate activists at the congressional baseball game. America. Must have been some pushback in reaction to that. Also, story that's trending this morning says about half of U.S. adults approve of Donald Trump's recent felony conviction. This is a new legacy media poll from the Associated Press and the Nork Center for Public Affairs. And you can put this with the mountain of worthless polls that are out there. So even though half of adults approve of Trump's conviction, views of Trump remain fairly stable. Again, it's not changing on anyone's minds. I mean, that's what the Democrats had hoped for, is that all of this nonsense against Donald Trump would change more minds. Take a look at the fundraising. Do you think that's happened? I don't think that's happened. So America is really divided, and I don't see that changing. I really don't. I don't know what it would take. But there's just a lot of division in the country, and I think that's one of the things that all of these polls really highlight. Also, inflation cooled last month, according to new data that was released this week. And that was very welcome news for many of us. Consumer prices rose 3.3% from a year earlier, and that's down slightly from April. On a monthly basis, prices held flat for the first time since July of 2022. And folks who look at these numbers are saying, you know, this is the best news we could have gotten this morning. The Federal Reserve has been watching to make sure that this number came in, below 0.2%. This is a really sad story from Fox News. This one's coming from Fox News, trending in a number of places this morning. But if you remember then, I think all of us remember the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And these folks who were there and lived through that event are graduating. And so there's a lot of focus then on the students who were killed and would have been graduating this year, but were sadly killed. And it's still a lot of grief, as you might well imagine. That I've got to believe that's one of those things you would carry with you for the rest of your life. I mean, if you were a Sandy Hook Elementary School student and you saw the number of people that were killed on that day, and then going through graduation, which generally is a time of celebration for many of us, but then, you know, the empty robes that are there and your friends that you're missing, those are things that I think for many of us, you just really never fully get past. And so there's a blend of excitement. And I think it was one of the survivors of Sandy Hook, who's a 17-year-old girl. And she said, I think we're all super excited for the day, but I think we can't forget that there is a whole chunk of our class missing. And so going into graduation, we all have very mixed emotions, trying to be excited for ourselves and this accomplishment that we worked so hard for, but also those who aren't able to share it with us, who should have been able to. Yeah, it's a sad story. Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer, has demanded that she be allowed to compete against women in the Olympics. And no, she has been told no. She asked a court of arbitration for sport to overturn a ban on biological males competing against women. She wanted to get to the Olympics then and race at the games. And no, court of arbitration saying no. They said Leah Thomas, was not entitled to engage with eligibility to compete in World Aquatics competitions, and World Aquatics welcomed the news. They hailed it as a major step forward in our efforts to protect women's sport. And I would agree. It's a move that I applaud. 8 former engineers at SpaceX have filed a lawsuit against Elon Musk. They're claiming that they were illegally fired after they raised their concerns about sexual harassment and discrimination of women. And the engineers are not all women, 4 men and 4 women. And they argue that Musk personally ordered their firings after they signed an open letter in 2022 calling Musk a distraction and embarrassment, and then urged executives to disavow comments he made on social media. And I don't want to get into the comments that he made. Sometimes Elon Musk, again, one of the problems I have is when you see these comments, they're completely taken out of context. I don't know what context they were offered in. And so what these people are claiming is that he fostered a pervasive sexist culture at SpaceX. And they said that female engineers were subjected to harassment and sexist comments. Already, again, there are laws against that kind of thing. So I lack the overall context to be able to put that, and I don't trust the media to share that with us. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court is backing Starbucks. Starbucks fired some pro-union workers, and they had fired 7 employees in Memphis as they were trying to unionize, and those employees became the first in that company to try to unionize. Starbucks argued that the judge in the case should have used, so I don't want to get too sideways here. So the U.S. Supreme Court now siding with Starbucks in that case. They threw out a lower court ruling. Also, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying this week that mediators would try to keep a close, would try to close the deal on a ceasefire deal for Gaza after Hamas had proposed changes. And Hamas is saying some of these were, I think it's Blinken who's saying some of the changes that Hamas wants. He said some are workable and some are not. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. It's a beautiful morning. Sunshine and 55 currently at Kello. This portion of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Our business is news, and business is good.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, for letting me join you this morning. It's great to have you along. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. You can listen to the entire show. You can stream it live at KELO.com. You can find our podcasts of previous shows there. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Take care. So long until Monday, and may God bless.